Look at these pictures out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Powerful storms moving through, wind-driven heavy rain, and unfortunately, some severe weather that rolled on through. Flooding hasn't been the only concern with these storms. We've also seen tornadoes, the National Weather Service issuing a preliminary EF-2 rating for the twister that came through Lake Charles. To talk more about the response to these storms, let's bring in Jared Mays. He's an assistant director with the Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana, Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. This is the western border of your parish is the Sabine River. This area out of eastern Texas and into western parts of Louisiana had an awful run with this. Jared, thanks for being with us here on Fox Weather. What can you tell us so far about the response to these storms?
Yes, the EF-2 hit down approximately 6:38 this morning, local time. It was about a mile. It traveled about a mile long. It's about 250 yards wide. We got about 18 houses and probably 2 or 3 businesses with severe roof damage and damage to their exterior parts of their houses.
This was brutal when you're talking about, what, just after 6:30 local time, an EF-2. That's a strong tornado. Unfortunately, it was known that threat was present, but that is still a very difficult time, first thing in the morning, for folks to have to contend with weather this dangerous. Was that part of your messaging in the lead up to this event?
Yes, we relied on the National Weather Service to do the messaging for the tornado alerts, so they sent those out. We were trying to keep everybody from getting on the roads that early, traveling to work and to school, because we still have school in session today. With winds up to 65 mile an hour were recorded throughout the parish.
When we're talking about EF-2 tornadoes, the hazards obviously speak for themselves, the damage that is done by a tornado of that magnitude. But we've seen sprawling flooding across your state. How has your parish fared so far?
We got some flooding throughout the day. Most of ours was wind damage today. They blew down a lot of trees, power lines, and some homes were damaged.
What's the biggest concern moving forward? I know you mentioned some of the roof damage to folks in your area from the tornado. There is a little bit of rain still back to the west.
We were out assessing the damage earlier today, and we got tarps pushed out to those people that required them that didn't have tarps already. So we're trying to get their homes covered and everything so to protect them if any future rain comes. And
just to be clear, I know that it was a couple dozen homes impacted by this. Any injuries from the tornado?
0 injuries.
Great.
I think due to the alert system.
Great. Jared, wonderful work there. I know this has to be a quick response with how active it's been lately. Appreciate what you do, and thank you for being with us on Fox Weather. That's Jared Mays.